Senator Mazie Hirono didn't just question Pete Hegseth, she put his entire nomination on trial. From sexual misconduct allegations to drinking on the job to whether he'd obey unlawful orders from Donald Trump, this wasn't a hearing, it was an expose on fitness, loyalty, and the rule of law. And Hegseth's answers? They should worry every American.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hegseth, welcome.
Thank you.
I am focused on your fitness to serve, including your character and temperament and your overall qualifications to do the job. And I do appreciate the comments of Ranking Member Reed with his concerns regarding your nomination, because I share those concerns. As part of my responsibility as a member of this committee to ensure the fitness of all nominees to come before any of the committees on which I sit, I ask the following two initial questions. First, since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
Senator, I was falsely accused in October of 2017. It was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared.
I don't think completely cleared is accurate, but the fact is that your own lawyer said that you entered into an NDA and paid a person who accused you of raping her a sum of money to make sure that she did not file a complaint. Moving on. As Secretary, you will be in charge of maintaining good order and discipline by enforcing the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. In addition to the sexual assault allegations, and by the way, the answer to my second question should have been yes. I have read multiple reports of your regularly being drunk at work, including by people who worked with you at Fox News. Do you know that being drunk at work is prohibited for service members under the UCMJ?
Senator, those
Yes
are
or no?
multiple false anonymous reports peddled by NBC
Do you
News
know that
run directly
drinking on the job
contradictory to the dozens of men and women at
Not
Fox News
contemplated
Channel who I work with
I'm
who
not
came
hearing
on
the
the
answer to my
record
question.
and said they've
In your
never
opening
seen
statement,
that.
Mr. Hegseth, you commit to holding leaders accountable at all levels. That includes you, of course. And frankly, as Secretary, you will be on the job 24/7. You recently promised some of my Republican colleagues that you stopped drinking and won't drink if confirmed, correct?
Absolutely.
Will you resign as Secretary of Defense if you drink on the job, which is a 24/7 position?
I've made this commitment on behalf of
Will
the
you
men and women I'm
resign
serving.
as Secretary of Defense
I've
if
made this
you
commitment
drink
on
the
behalf
job?
of the men and women I'm serving.
I'm not
because it's the
hearing-
most important deployment
I'm not
of my
hearing an
life.
answer to my question, so I'm going to move on. While you have made that commitment, you will not commit to resigning if you drink on the job. As Secretary of Defense, you will swear an oath to the Constitution and not an oath to any man, woman, or president, correct?
Senator, on multiple occasions, including as a young second lieutenant, I have sworn an oath to the
Answer is
Constitution,
yes.
and I'm proud to do so. Yes, ma'am.
In June of 2020, then President Trump directed former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper to shoot protesters in the legs in downtown D.C., an order Secretary Esper refused to comply with. Would you carry out such an order from President Trump?
Senator, I was in the Washington, D.C. National Guard unit that was in Lafayette Square during those
Would you
events,
carry
holding
out
a
an
riot
order to
shield on
shoot
behalf of my
protesters
country.
in the legs?
I saw 50
as
Secret
directed
Service agents
to
get injured
Secretary
by
Esper?
rioters trying to jump over the fence, set
Again,
the church on fire, and destroy
You know
a
what?
statue.
That sounds to me that you will
Chaos.
comply with such an order. You will shoot protesters in the leg. Moving on. President-elect has attacked our allies in recent weeks, refusing to rule out using military force to take over Greenland and the Panama Canal, and threatening to make Canada the 51st state. Would you carry out an order from President Trump to seize Greenland, a territory of our NATO ally Denmark, by force, or would you comply with an order to take over the Panama Canal?
Senator, I will emphasize that President Trump received 77 million votes to be the lawful
We're not
commander-in-chief of
talking
this
about
country.
the election. My question is, would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate carrying out such an order to basically invade Greenland and take over the Panama Canal. Current DoD policy allows service members and eligible dependents to be reimbursed for travel associated with non-covered reproductive health care, including abortions. Will you maintain this common sense policy?
Senator, I've always been personally pro-life. I know President Trump has as well, and we will review all policies, but our standard is whatever the president wants on this particular issue. With my advice, I will take a look at.
If the president tells you that this common sense policy will not be maintained, you will not enable our service members to seek reproductive care. So it sounds
I don't
like to
believe the
me.
federal government should be funding
I'm not hearing answers to my questions,
travel for
Mr.
abortion.
Chairman. I just want to note that the other area that of serious concern to me is President Trump saying that he wants to use the military to help with mass deportations, which will cost billions of dollars. And what that will do to readiness is very, very concerning. Mr. Hegseth, I have noticed a disturbing pattern. You previously have made a series of inflammatory statements about women in combat, LGBTQ service members, Muslim Americans, and Democrats. Since your nominations, however, you have walked those back on TV in interviews and most recently in your opening statements. You are no longer on Fox and Friends, Mr. Hegseth. If confirmed, your words, actions, and decisions will have real impacts on national security and our service members' lives. There are close to 3 million personnel in the Department of Defense, $900 billion budget. I hardly think you are prepared to do the job. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator,
This moment is exactly why Senate confirmation hearings matter, because what Hirono exposed here goes far beyond political theater. She's laying out a pattern: allegations of sexual misconduct, NDAs, payouts, accusations of being intoxicated on the job, evasive answers about accountability, and all of it feeds into one central question: can this man be trusted with the Pentagon? And then she takes it to the core issue, the question that separates constitutional governance from authoritarian rule. Would Pete Hegseth follow unlawful orders? Would he weaponize the U.S. military at the direction of Donald Trump? Because we've seen this movie before. Trump asked for protesters to be shot in the legs in 2020. He wanted the Pentagon to seize cities for immigration enforcement. He's floated taking Greenland, grabbing the Panama Canal, even using the military for mass deportations. These aren't hypotheticals. These are real things Trump said or demanded. And Mark Esper, his own Secretary of Defense, had to say no to protect the Constitution. But here's the disturbing part. Hegseth refuses to answer. He refuses to say he'd reject illegal commands. He hides behind political loyalty rather than constitutional duty. That is disqualifying. A Secretary of Defense must be independent of the president, not a loyalist, not a foot soldier, not a political operative. Their oath is to the Constitution, not to the man in the Oval Office. Hirono's questioning exposes that Hegseth either doesn't understand that or refuses to honor it. The fact that he keeps invoking Trump's vote count, talking about never tipping Trump's hand, dodging questions about invading allied territories, it's not just evasive. It signals exactly what Hirono fears: a Pentagon run by someone who sees their loyalty as personal, not institutional. And when she confronts him on reproductive care, LGBTQ troops, Muslim Americans, and his long history of inflammatory comments, the theme becomes crystal clear. This isn't just about competence, it's about ideology. It's about bias. It's about what kind of military leadership we normalize. Hirono ends by reminding the room that this job is not Fox and Friends. It's the Department of Defense. 3 million personnel, nearly $1 trillion budget, the backbone of national security. And the evidence she lays out is simple. Hegseth isn't ready, and the risks of putting him in charge are too high. If we are going to talk about patriotism, rule of law, and national security, hearings like this show why the public needs to pay attention. And if you're watching this on Left Lens, hit like, share, and subscribe, because this is the deep, unfiltered political analysis you won't get anywhere else.